second-year grad student. I got my undergrad at Wichita State University in biology.
I don't know what's up. So, I'm Dr. Toby Nelson. I'm a associate professor. I actually just got tenure here at Oklahoma State. And so I'm associate professor in chemistry. I've been here 7 years. I got my bachelor degree at Francis Marion University in South Carolina. I'm actually from Lake City, South Carolina, where Ronald McNair is from. I got my PhD from the University of South Carolina. And I then went to Carnegie Mellon for a postdoc. It's kind of like a training to be a research faculty. So I was there 4 years, and then I came here.
Daniel, you want to go ahead?
Well, like my question was initially it's going to be, what y'all do? Y'all's undergrad. Y'all pretty much already answered. But I guess another question is like, what made y'all choose like OSU's graduate program, or what made y'all choose just come to OSU?
Well, a lot of different factors played into it for me. I knew going into school at TCU that I was going to have to look for different funding options when I went to grad school. So that was a big thing, first generation college student. My parents didn't really have the money to send me to undergrad, much less graduate school. So that was a big thing. And then the program that I applied for was very competitive. So I applied to like 10 different programs. But the ones that I narrowed it down to and finally decided to apply to were mostly in Texas and Oklahoma, just because it's close to home. I'm from Amarillo, Texas originally, and family is a huge part of my life. So close to home, funding, and what is the best education I can get, for the cheapest price, pretty much. I want to get the most bang for my buck, and I came and toured here, and I just really loved the faculty. They seemed very interested in what I wanted to do in my 2 years here, and they seemed very interested in helping me grow as a student and as a future professional. So that's kind of really what decided it.
Well stated.
Is everyone gonna answer the same question? I'm assuming. Okay.
However you want to do it.
Okay, I'll just throw a little tidbit in there. I had other schools that I was looking at, but I narrowed mine down to the University of Kansas, Wichita State, my alma mater, and Oklahoma State. And what was really the deciding factor was not how nice the campus was, but how when I had my one-on-one meeting with the director of the program, how he came across as a person. Like, if I'm gonna spend my next 2 years with this gentleman, I better like him. And he came up as a real personable, dedicated person, and I personally I can appreciate a small program because everybody knows everybody. Undergrad was a little bit different, but looking at the curriculum and the job success rate after graduation and all that I like the numbers, and they didn't seem like some titty-tatty classes just to fill up space, but every course that I take I feel like it's applicable to where I want to be. That's why I chose Oklahoma State.
It's gonna be difficult. So what was the question again? What was the question? So I can answer it several ways. You want to know why I went to grad school, or you want to know which part?
I think
you
more
want?
like, why did you choose where did you got your graduate degree?
So this is a story, so I'll shorten the story. I applied several places. I only applied to places that I saw at least 3 faculty members that had research in the area that I had interest. If you didn't have that, then there was no reason for me to go to that university. So that was the first thing in terms of applying. And then I kind of narrowed it down to University of Alabama because I did some undergraduate research there, so I knew the faculty member there, and University of South Carolina because it was closer to home. I'm a first generation. Being close to my mom is important to me, but everything worked out and I was able to go. Then my mom had a heart attack, and I basically called Alabama and told them I wasn't coming. And I went to South Carolina, University of South Carolina, because that's about an hour and a half away from my mom. I could drive home. If something, she needs an appointment, I can go drive home. That also leads me to, one of the things I think is important is like what you were saying, the graduate advisor, the director. That's really important because this person is going to be your parent through that whole entire time. They're going to be guiding you through that whole entire process. And so for me, I needed someone that could work with someone like I am. So if my mom got sick, I'm gone. I need someone that, I go to your office, my mom's sick, I'll see you when I get back. But you know that when I get back or before I leave, I'm working hard, right? So I needed that flexibility from my advisor. So that was another thing in terms of choosing an advisor too. So did that, I think I shortened that. Because it can always be longer, as you know. It can be long, yeah.
Okay, I know there's funding programs that allow you to go to graduate school, but how are you guys funding for your degree? Or is it more like a TA position, or what you guys did?
So I have the McNair Fellowship here, which has been such a blessing. So my tuition is covered, but I also have a job. So I work 20 hours a week at the academic center with the student athletes. I tutor them. So, you know, the McNair program at TCU when I was an undergrad did a really good job of helping me find the schools that had McNair Fellowship opportunities. So those were kind of the funding opportunities that I focused on.
I'm also a recipient of the fellowship. The other 3 schools had McNair's program, but I felt like I was more likely to get the actual tuition waiver if I enrolled with Oklahoma State. But in addition to that, you know, I worked semi full time, you know, to pay for life. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, we typically have teaching assistantships. Usually in chemistry, most of the STEM, they have teaching assistantships, at least for the first year. Usually after that, depending on funding for the advisor, you can have research assistantships, so you don't have to teach. I always were looking for fellowships because I like money. And so I was always looking for things, and I have some, if you want to know a few of the things I have applied for, I can give you those lists too. So from foundations to federal government has one, so from a National Science Foundation to National Institute of Health has fellowships, graduate fellowships. Ford Foundation is a very good one. They pay for your whole entire graduate career, but they also give you money for like a research grant that you can use for travel to go to wherever you want to go to. So, and you get a stipend. So they pay for your tuition, they give you a stipend, and they give you this on the side. So these are some things you definitely should be looking at in your junior year, because you actually have to apply for those things in your junior year. So that's why I actually wanted to say something. Those things you need to apply now. I think they're going to be coming up in October, November. You need to start applying to those things immediately. They can change your whole career because those things are very prestigious. So one thing I tell people is awards win you other awards. So you want to win awards, win the small ones, because people just count. They don't, at one point they're like, this person has 5 and this person has 4. Guess who's gonna win? The person with 5. Unless they have a prestigious one, right? So if you see awards, fellowships, just apply. They win you larger awards later.
One thing you could also do is you could just go to a library and go to the reference desk and ask them if there's any books on scholarships, and you'll see that they usually have like a 2016, 2017, 2018 edition, and you just open, you know, the latest one, or it might even be pre 2019. You'll just open that up, and they have an index back there. You can just pick how it applies to you, whether you're Native, Hispanic, males, females, how many, was your parents this, were they involved in this, or what association you got to like any military. There's like thousands, like entire like books for like, you know, different ethnicities, so.
And I will say, be careful with TA positions, because I know a lot of people in my program have them for the first year, but not for the second year. So just look into that. I knew I needed both years funded, so a TA position wasn't gonna work for me here, so.
Thank you.
Was that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
Start early, that's the best
Yeah,
advice, right
just
there.
start
Start
early.
early, and a lot of them are gonna ask for essays, and don't scrap your essay when you're done, just,
Go to the writing center.
Recycle.
yeah, recycle it and, you know, tailor it to
Yeah.
whatever they're asking, and like she just said,
Yeah, have other people look over it. And yeah, take bits and pieces. You know, I applied to 10 programs and they each needed a cover letter. And so instead of just starting over from scratch, I took some lines that applied, you know, so you can take bits and pieces of different things and put those together. Saves you time.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Now that you mentioned the different programs that you applied for, were they all like the same, like with the same department, or were you looking at different departments, or how did you?
I was specifically looking at communication sciences and disorders or speech pathology. They're kind of interchangeable. I knew that's what I wanted to get my master's degree in. That's what I got my bachelor's degree in. And to practice in the state of Texas, I have to have a master's degree. So I knew specifically that I was looking for that one,
That's specific.
for that program, yes.
same, all my programs had that same title, environmental management, but the underlying structure varied, so that played a part of it. Some of them were like what I call like joint programs, like they would be called environmental management, but then they'd have like, I mean, a lot of programs are like this, they have like several different departments under them, and it was more or less like I was just gonna be, if I went to like the University of San Francisco, I basically would have got like another biology degree, that's the way the curriculum looked. And I was looking at something that was more industry based, stuff like that, so.
And yes, I applied to the same department, but even in our department, we have different disciplines. And so you apply to the department, but in that, you still have different disciplines under that. Yeah. One thing I want to say about the fellowship before I forget. Some departments and colleges have fellowships. You should talk to the person that you talk to. So for us, we usually the graduate coordinator, the person that actually talking to you in terms of the what you're gonna get when you get there, the offer you're gonna get. So that person you talk to, so literally ask them, do you have any fellowships or scholarships available? And most of the time they do, and they won't tell you. You have to ask for them. You have to ask for them. And so I asked for it, and then all of a sudden I got something. I got something they were trying to award to someone for a long time, and they just forgot about it. And the person went and looked it up. You know, just because I asked about it, they went and looked it up. They found something that basically wasn't awarded for like 10 years or something crazy like that. So, so you just need to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Think about it like this: you want the money, do what you gotta do. And I need the money. I mean, I'm a first generation, and I needed whatever I can get to be able to do this. So.
And don't ask, don't get. is
Yes,
what
for
I
sure,
always say.
for sure.
What would you say is like the best thing that y'all did during your undergrad, like separated yourself and like gave you the best chance to get into like your, you know, most desired program?
That really helped me.
That's tough. You know, the research I did with my professor really set me apart, I think. And then also I worked throughout undergrad. I worked at least 15 hours a week during undergrad, sometimes more. And I don't know if that helped me, but people always ask me about it, you know, like, were you able to juggle work and, you know, and then I'd say, well, yeah, it was kind of tough, but I mean, I still had the grades and I was able to work and get everything done and still do my research, so that was kind of impressive to programs, I think. But just, you know, if you don't have to work, get involved in those extracurriculars, specifically the ones that have to do with your program. Like for speech pathology, we have what's called NISLA, so it's the National Speech Language Hearing Association, and I did what I could with that. You know, I didn't hold an office, but I actively participated in any events they held, and I went to the weekly meetings and that kind of thing. So I think that was another thing that helped.
Definitely, and just to second that, if they sit you down and ask you, are you interested in this program, and like interview or anything, you should be able to like submit previous research papers that obviously show that, you know, I've already began researching this topic. Like everything that I wrote in my environmental biology undergrad research had something to do with industry and their effects on the environment and stuff like that. So I've always had it at my disposal to show them like I care already. This isn't something new to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. For me, it was, I started research as a sophomore, so, you know, them seeing that my commitment to research, and again, like being able to do well in classroom and along with the research, because for our degree, it's a research degree. So you're really taking classes to prepare you to do research. The classes are really not that, it's not done, the classes are a very small portion of your degree. It's about what you're gonna do with your research, with your dissertation or your thesis. And so they value knowing that you've had some of the skills coming in. They really value that.
And so now, what are some things that you wish you would have done during your undergrad to better your chances?
I was a double major. So I double majored in Spanish and speech pathology because I wanted to go to bilingual graduate programs. And you know, speech pathology was always number one. It always came before Spanish. And I wish I would have done a little bit more with Spanish. You know, my grades were so good. But I know that I could have put a little bit more effort into it. So I think just making sure you prioritize all of your classes, not just the ones you think carry more weight. And then also don't wear yourself too thin. I think my senior year, I just became involved in too much and was working and was doing research and was applying to grad school. So I really didn't focus on my Spanish papers as much as I could have. Just kind of threw something together because I knew I was a good writer and I could throw something together and it would be okay. But just make sure that the things you're involved in are the things that you really want to prioritize and that mean the most to you. And don't count out those classes that you think might be less important.
I would say you have a lot of resources available to you at your university. And even though you may think you're a great writer, like I think I'm a great writer, always utilize the Writing Center. Long before they even see you, they're like going through a bunch of papers and all that. They'll see your writing before they ever get a chance to see your personality. So I would say utilize the Writing Center for pretty much anything you have to submit, because those papers gonna be a life force.
Yeah, and the Career Center for resumes.
It's like, why not? Why wouldn't you just have somebody write it over for you? It's available to you. You're paying for it already somehow.
For
Somehow.
sure, fully be paid for it. I'm not a good writer, so I was not a good writer. So I would have taken more writing classes. I would have taken public speaking. I ran away from those courses, and I went to grad school, and that's all you do, write and talk. That's all you do. And so I would definitely take those things over again. And and I would not take Fortran. You don't know what it is, don't worry about it. I would not have taken Fortran. That was a waste. I would have taken C++ or another computer programming class. That was a waste of time. They made me take it though.
Did you guys find any challenges when you first started doing research as an undergrad?
I had no idea what I was doing, honestly. So just kind of trying to figure out how to navigate everything was a big challenge for me. And I'm kind of a very proud person. So asking for help was kind of hard. But I finally realized, you know, my professor is here to help me. They are my mentor. They, you know, they signed up for this. When I asked, they agreed. And so just know that, like, if you have a question, if you do need help, your professor or your research mentor, I mean, that's their job, that's what they're there for, and they want to help you with that kind of thing. So if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, ask for help. It's the biggest thing.
Sorry, I'm just paying attention.
So you asked what made it the hardest? Was it?
Yeah, like, did you face like any challenges when you first started doing research? Like,
In undergrad, yes, just because some of the courses I had to take were like on the molecular level, and I had to find some way to make it applicable. Like in molecular biology, like I'm in environmental biology, but I'm more concerned with other things than how ligaments and tendons work on the lowest of levels. But I say that was the only reason why I had trouble, is getting motivated to do research in a class that wasn't exactly most applicable, but I would definitely say, don't hesitate to ask questions. All my life, I've been that guy that tried to sit in the front, in the middle, and raise my hand as much as possible so the teacher can at least call me by name. And so when I stop by in the office, I'll probably meet him there and just be ready to talk to him about whatever, and just, I mean, I think you find that the professors, they like being asked questions. They live for the opportunity to spill out what they know, or hear themselves in your writing or something. Like, they got a doctorate degree, they want to hear themselves.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Absolutely.
That's true. I think for me, it was all new. It was everything, every part of it was new for me. I don't know if I can say it was challenging, it was just new. So it was, I don't know if I can say it was like, oh, this is hard. I didn't have anything to compare it with. I really didn't know anything beyond that. So it was just new. Everything that happened was new for me. So I know it's new, so I just keep going. That's me. I just gonna keep going. So and you know, just try to learn something. You know, sometimes things don't work out, and you just try to learn some things out of it.
So whatever you decide to pursue, just make sure you have an interest in. And I find it that reading books that I don't care about, I'll probably fall asleep in. But if it's a book that engages me, I'm not so much enduring it, but I'm enjoying it. So it won't feel as much like work when you're researching. You just like, okay, where's the next paper?
Yeah. It is a lot more challenging too, because research takes a lot of time. You know, you're gonna spend a lot of time doing the research and then writing the paper. And so it's going to become challenging if you're not motivated to do it.
I have a question. When did you guys started your research during undergrad? Like I know you mentioned as a sophomore, but what about you guys?
I kind of helped out in little projects here and there, but I didn't hear about the McNair program until I was a senior. So I started August of my senior year and just had to do all of the research while I was writing the paper. So start earlier than that if you have the opportunity.
Same, senior year. No, actually, yeah, it was my senior year. I had a little bit of experience senior year.
Okay, because I feel like I'm starting a little bit late. I also work for Brenda and I get to write about all the scholars that are in the OKLSM program. I don't know if you heard about it, but they also do research, so it helps minorities to do research. So I had no experience with research until this program because I was kind of the same boat. I tried to get too involved and then school and grades and never really considered doing research. So I'm kind of afraid that it might be too late, but
Are you a junior? You're fine.
No, you're fine.
You'll be
I mean,
great.
late is like after you graduate. That's late, you know, you can't come back from that. So it's, any amount of research is gonna be helpful because what it does and what you don't know, it tells you what you don't know, and it also tells you what you like and what you don't like, right? So you can take something like, well, when I started research, I realized that I don't wanna be a pharmacist. I don't want to do that. I want to be a researcher. That's what it does. And if you get that out of it, you don't get any results. That's the best results you can get. You got what your career and passion is going to be one day. Or that is not my career and passion. So that's what it's about. That's really what it's about. Sometimes it's like what I call in basketball, it's a head fake. So I'm showing you something, you're getting some work done, but really what I'm doing is I'm giving you a head fake and you jumping up. And what you're really learning is about you, what you want to be, because it's not about you. That's really what you should be learning. I guess I shouldn't have did that. I gave him the head fake.
No, they don't.
That's really what it's about. So it comes with other pluses because you can add it. It helps your resume, those other things. But that's really the whole motive of it. By doing undergraduate research, that's really the main focus. That's why you can do whatever. You can do a little bit here, you can do a little bit there. You don't have to stay in the same path.
I would just like to say that some of you are doing research, you're hopping in with a faculty member, you might not be doing exactly what you want to do. That's okay, you can still learn from the
That's for
process. That way when you get to grad school, you know what you're doing and you can do what you're passionate about in grad school.
So as an undergraduate, I'm doing nothing that I did as an undergraduate, and what I did in grad school was entirely
not
different.
related.
So do not put those things together. And that's why I'm saying it's a learning experience. You're learning how to use your hands, you're learning how to write, you're learning how to work with group, right? Group communication, because that's what you do a lot in grad school. Do you agree with that? You're communicating with
Doing
people.
life.
It's right, exactly. So those are really the main things that you're learning. It's not always about what you're actually doing, So don't put those things together because I was blessed that I was able to do some work that was interesting. I got a paper out of it, right? That almost never happens. Okay, so that almost never happens, and it wasn't because of me. It was because I was in the right place, right time, and all that. But I didn't do anything nothing. The only thing that was the same is that it was organic chemistry. That's the only thing that was the same. Yeah, I know. Everyone hates me. I know. Everyone hates me. I understand.
Yeah, no, and that's how I started out. I jumped in.
I understand.
No, but since I jumped in kind of late, I just had to find a professor who was already doing research. So I just jumped in and did what she was doing. She already had IRB approval for the study, so I didn't have to worry about wasting time submitting that and waiting for it to get approved. And you don't always get to choose. I was interested in it, but it's not the path that I am going to take with my career, I think, so.
Also, how rigorous do you find graduate school compared to undergrad? Is it
Does she
like?
really want to know?
Scare off your shoulders.
Scare me now, please.
I can't speak to every program, but my program is pretty rigorous. So I take 3 classes, which is full-time for graduate students, and then I also have clients of my own that I see twice a week. So it's an hour, the sessions are an hour twice a week. So every time I see a client, I have to document it. So I have to write a SOAP note, you know, and then at the beginning of the semester when I first see this patient, I have to evaluate them and figure out what their needs are. And then I have to write a report about that. And then at the end of the semester, I have to document their progress. And that's another long report, you know, so I spend probably 40 hours in the clinic between seeing my clients, preparing for my clients, cleaning up, and writing all the paperwork and doing all the documentation. And that's on top of classes and my actual job. So it can get pretty crazy, and there are times when you're like, man, I got a full 4 hours last night, I'm good to go today. And yeah, and so it gets crazy, and there are times where it does get a little hectic and you can feel a little bit overwhelmed. But what I found is that I really love the program that I'm in. Between my supervisors and my professors and my cohort, and just what I'm learning and the profession, you know, the career that I'm gonna go into, I love it. I really do. And so all the craziness is worth it, because in the end I'm gonna have a job that I love. So
Yes, graduate school can be more difficult than undergrads. For me, it was just changing the time slots for my courses. Like, I'm in 3 classes, and rather having them spread out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, I have 3 night classes after work, and my night classes all require me to do group work outside of class, and so it's mostly just time management, just figuring out when my small group or my large group is gonna meet, and you know, that's just agreeing on how we want to do it, assignment and submit it. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's hard, because I'm interested in what I'm doing, so it's just being a little bit more intentional with my work. So I know I don't want to settle for some grades that I might have settled for in undergrad, so I just gotta taking a more serious tone to the work. So it's as hard as you make it.
So for us, again, we have 3 classes. You're TA, so you're TAing during the daytime, and usually this could be, for us, it was, I had to go to class, then we had something called recitation, which was a class that you taught, or you did a review of what they went over in class. So I had 2 of those, and then I had a lab. So I had 3 slots that I had to do in the day. So that was an hour, and 3 hours. And then I had to go to class for an hour. That's just class. That's just for teaching, TA. Then I had 3 classes that I had to study for, and in our programs, there's A, B, and fail. I mean, you make a C, really, that's in trouble. You're in trouble, right? So C, D, they don't even have D. D doesn't even exist. You're out of the program. So you're taking your courses, you're TAing, and you try to get some sleep. So, and that's the first semester, and then the second semester, you have a seminar you have to do. So you have to basically talk. This is why I should have did some public speaking. And then there's a seminar that you have to give in front of the whole entire faculty about a topic that you don't know anything about. You have to research in your second semester. And so you have to give this, and then that's also a grade, A, B, there are do-over. And then it gets more rigorous. Now you are starting to do research. So you're doing TA, you're doing research, you are teaching, all of that at the same time. So it's definitely a time management thing. but it's definitely, it's a whole different thing than undergrad, because with undergrad, everything is in a schedule, right? When you're in grad school, most things are not in a schedule, right? So your class in a schedule, your teaching in a schedule, but the other things are not in a schedule, right? So you just have to figure it out. So,
It's gonna feel like 24 hours isn't enough time in the day.
right,
Yeah.
and you need more time.
But it's a great experience. I'm excited for all of you.
No, I would say that I really have loved grad school. It's a love-hate relationship for sure, you know, because there are days where I'm just tired and I'm like, why did I choose to come to grad school? I chose to suffer, but you know, I have become really close with my cohort. You know, it's a small cohort. There's 20 of us total. So I've become really close with those girls, and I've learned so much. And it's really taught me that, like, you know, if I can make it through grad school, I can pretty much do anything. So, it was tough, and I had to be very dedicated and very disciplined, and I had to sacrifice some sleep and, you know, some time with friends on the weekends, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I feel very prepared for my career, and I got some friends out of it too, so it's been awesome.
Could you all talk about the importance of support? You've referenced, you know, the connection of your cohort.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how your program is set up, if you have a cohort or not, Brandon, but then you can
And I'll talk in detail
But we can
about
talk
that.
about what support looks like, as relates to kind of plowing through this thing called graduate school.
Yeah, so as I've already mentioned, the girls in my program are awesome. You know, they're the only ones who really understand what it is to go through grad school and also work 20 hours a week and also try and have some fun and sleep, you know. So I lean on them a lot, but I am very close with my family. So my mom and my dad, anytime I just need a pep talk, I call my dad. If I need to cry, I call my mom. And then if I just need to get my mind off grad school and have a laugh, I call my brother and sister or my friends from back home, you know. So I think support can take a lot of different forms. For me, it's my friends and the girls in my program and my family, but for other people, it might be a therapist. You know, they might see a therapist and get their support that way. You know, it can come pretty much any way you need it, but you will need support throughout grad school, no matter who it comes from.
Support. I'm gonna just say it. Me and my advisor / director, we're like buddy buddies.
Yeah.
I mean, we linked the first time, like we had like an official interview, and then we would stay in connection. Like I said, the program I think is only about 20-25 people, and he's been my instructor for a few classes. But as far as like support goes, I mean, I'm only about 2.5 hours away from home in Tulsa, but I'm pretty well connected at my church group that I have in Tulsa. So outside of my classmates, who, I mean, occasionally we might brag or complain about our homework assignments from time to time, but I mean, my instructor's kind of like a phone call away, and he can really relate to me since where I'm working at is where he used to work at, and he's the one that put me in position there, so pretty well connected wherever I go. So yeah, I encourage you to find some kind of social group or anybody that you feel like you can relate to follow on and feel yourself bending.
So I agree. You need support on all levels. So, like with the graduate coordinator, that person is going to be guiding you through the process, and and I'm same with my advisor. I mean, I was his first student, and he knew personal things that were going on in my life that other people did not know, even sometimes my parents didn't know, right? And so, but he was that type of person, right? And so, and I needed that type of person when I chose him. I needed that type of person for me. But you know, then we had a small cohort that it was I don't know how many. So we didn't. I wasn't a magnet scholar, but at that time there was a lot of minorities that had come into South Carolina, and we basically did everything together, and we made sure that everyone graduated. So because there's some days you're just gonna quit. You just I mean it's just hard, right? For whatever experiment, whatever it might be, and so you just need some people that's gonna give you support, and they can understand what's going on with what you're doing. And that can come so many different ways. That can be family, church family, that could be friends, that could be whatever. It depends on the person, but you need it. You need it to make through, because it's just gonna be hard sometimes. That could just be someone across campus that you know, right? And you just need to call them up and just talk to them and just to make sure that they give you some boost and some encouragement. That of all the things, that is the most important, because it's gonna make sure you keep going. It's gonna make sure you keep going.
And don't be afraid to reach out to more than one person.
For
You
sure.
know, like I said, I kind of learned quickly not to call my parents and complain about school and it being hard because my parents didn't go to college. And they were like, oh, well, just study a little bit more, like you'll be fine.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
love me,
Yep.
but
Yep.
they just didn't
They
get
don't
it.
understand.
So, you know, my godmother has 2 master's degrees. So if I need to complain about school, I go to the girls in my class or I call my godmother. So different people will be your support for different things in different parts of your life. So keep that in mind.
Don't forget about your undergraduate chapter. I think I got this panel confused with
The graduate.
my. I'm gonna be like a judge for a research symposium next Friday back in Wichita State. So I was thinking like I had to do this like next week. I'm like, oh, you know what, this is today. But I mean, I talk to them frequently. Like every now and then, I find myself sitting on a cascade of emails, just like, "Hey guys, this is how I'm doing." And people ask me how I'm doing, so I just keep people in an email loop, because you find emails your best friend sometimes. And I mean, I'm not Greek, but there's always Greek chapters that you guys may want to join.
Yeah.
So why is it that y'all keep going? So like, what motivates y'all? Like, what's the end goal? I know you got a PhD, so it's like a
I didn't know
PhD.
anything about it. I'm gonna mean,
Like
in
a
undergrad,
right?
I had no idea what made them be professors. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I had no idea. I knew so less. It was a good thing and a bad thing. It was a good thing because the naive, I didn't know I was making mistakes. I didn't know, I was just going. I was like, well, I either can go back to Lake City, South Carolina, or I can go forward. And that was my motivation. Lake City, South Carolina, I know. Lake City, South Carolina, I'll move forward. That's all I knew. And I'm like, I'm gonna move as far away from Lake City, South Carolina. Because I know if you stay there, you're stuck forever. And it doesn't matter that it gets worse and worse. It just somehow sucks you in. And I just didn't want to be sucked in. That was my motivation. And that's still my motivation.
That actually sounds a lot like my hometown.
Just get away from the place.
I said Amarillo earlier, but I'm actually from a small town 45 miles north of Amarillo. So Dumas, Texas, it's literally the middle of nowhere.
Village.
We're, you know, the closest big city to us is Dallas, and that's 6 hours away. So yeah, we drive to Amarillo, which is an hour away if we want to go to Target, and people just kind of get stuck. And I knew that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. So that's a huge motivator. But also my family. I'm probably going to get emotional talking about it because my family just means the world to me. But my dad has worked shift work since he was 17 years old. My mom, you know, grew up in one of the poorest zip codes in the United States. She grew up in El Paso, right across from the border. And they have worked too hard for me to not do anything with my life. And I have a little brother and sister who are like my kids. They are a lot younger than me. I'm 7 and 8.5 years older than them, and to them I can do no wrong, you know, and so they keep me going because my dad can't work shift work for the rest of his life. He can't put 2 more kids through college. And so I want to step up and, you know, I want my dad to be able to take some time off, and I want to help my brother and sister go to college. And my sister will never admit it, but she tells everybody that I'm her biggest role model, you know, and so just knowing that I have that little girl watching me, that's what keeps me going. So.
What keeps me going? Man. I mean, when the opportunity presented itself to pursue graduate school, I said, why not? I was the one of many of my friends that, like, and a lot of my friends dropped off, like, you know, after high school, and then the ones that made it to college kind of disappeared and became, like, parents somehow. But, magical. But I don't know, I've always been called, like, a geek or a square growing up, and I'm just like, I don't know, I take pride in learning more. I think it's fun, and my parents tried the college thing, but somehow they became parents and ended up doing shift work as well. So to get a degree, I mean, it means a lot to me personally because I don't want to go into a life story, but I mean, I almost missed the diploma, but to get the degree and to just set the bar even higher for myself and my friends who hopefully when they get out, I mean, I got new friends now, but hopefully when they get out and, you know, I can be an inspiration for them and for their kids. Like, I'm just trying to be the light in somebody's life. I mean, and I personally enjoy the challenge.
So the question was about grad school or just in general?
Just like what motivates y'all, what makes y'all keep going?
You want to know really what motivates me? Okay, let me see. What really motivates me is that I want a legacy for my kids. I don't want to just be able to get my kids to college or whatever they would like to do. I'm thinking about my grandkids. So I'm thinking about their kids, right? And so I want to be able to, that's what keeps me going and getting higher. Because for me, I don't need all this. For me, I could have been in Lake City right now, married, working, and I would have been totally fine. But I said that I want my kids, my grandkids, and my great-great-grandkids to have something that I didn't have, that was well beyond something I didn't have. And that's what motivates me every day. They get me out of the bed when I don't want to go to class. Cause yes, we don't want to go to class. I don't want to go to class and teach. It still work. So that gets me out of bed. When I look at those boys, I look at my boys of mine, they get me out of bed, and they actually literally come and get me out of bed, and that keeps me going because I gotta do something that's bigger than me. So and hopefully that this spans out not just for my kids, but to other people that see what's going on. So that's really what motivates me.
Yeah, in grad school, you'll find yourself connecting with a lot of people who are successful. Yeah, you just want to be able to pull the people up that you didn't see make it. I mean, you don't have, I encourage you to pursue a graduate degree, but
You don't have to pursue a graduate degree to pull others up.
Nope.
you might as well. I mean, if you take joy in research, then just keep going.
Yeah.
What's to lose if you enjoy what you're doing?
Question, where do you guys see yourself after you finish your masters? I guess this question doesn't apply.
You're
for
here.
you.
It does apply to me. I still
Well, do you
gotta
see
keep
yourself
going. I can't
after
stop.
Yeah, do you think because you guys went to graduate school after undergrad, or did you take a year to work, or?
No, I went straight through. I would like to move back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I just love Texas. I love living in the city. And Dallas has a lot of really good research that's happening in those hospitals. I want to work in a hospital setting. So I just want to be where things are new and where they're happening and where everything's up and coming. And this is kind of unrelated. Well, it's sort of related, but I just had an interview at a hospital in Dallas the other day, and speech pathology, physical therapy, and occupational therapy all work together in that facility. And there was this girl who was maybe just a few years older than I was, and she was paralyzed, but they had this mechanism that they just like attached to her body, and she was walking. They were teaching her how to walk again. And that just blew my freaking mind. I just thought that was the coolest thing. So, they started explaining all the different research to me and different research that happens with speech and with physical therapy and how those all kind of work together. And so I think that's why I want to go back to the big metropolitan city, just to be where things are happening.
Well, you said about 10 years?
That's like
Did I just make
immediate
up
for me.
I might have said that. But in 10 years, I still want to see myself at American Airlines. I don't know. I feel like my instructor slash advisor slash director, Dr. Reed, he was formerly the Environment, Health, and Safety Director of American Airlines for the better part of 2 decades, and he still does. He still works with American, and he teaches for Oklahoma State, and he's doing research for them. So down the road, I've been suggested to, and I've been entertaining the idea of also moving down to Dallas, just because that's where American is headquarters. But to continue researching on something called combustible dust, which is basically fibrous material that explodes in industry, and just methods to detect and keep that stuff from happening. So I still see myself doing research, and I personally I want to teach one day. I don't know if I want to teach on the collegiate level, but I don't know. I take joy in talking to people. So, research never stops, whether you go into research or not, whether that's your title. No matter what job you do, you're going to find yourself researching something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if you have a graduate degree, like with me, with my field specifically, it's with treating patients. So you want to know what that research is. So even though I don't know what I want to do, I might plan to continue research, I might not. But even if I choose not to, I'm still going to have to know how to read that research and how to apply it to my patients.
I do research and teaching, so I like both of them. Well, I love both of them, actually. I'm doing what I like to do. I get to teach, research, and mentor, which is something I like, and I like to be here and talk to people that want some of the resources that I have. So I think if all those problems that I was telling you about, if I went through all that struggle just for me, I think it's not right. And so that's why I try to give that information out. Don't do this, do that. Or I did this and this happened. Doesn't mean it may happen to you, right? So I think that's it.
Any last bit of advice for our scholars in terms of anything you like, but also applying to grad school and things like that.
Just like fellowships, start early with your grad school applications. I think I started getting everything ready in October, which seems really early because some due dates aren't until like February or March. But if you're going to apply to more than one program, it takes time to get those cover letters and those personal statements and the essays all edited in the way you want them. So start October, November, and maybe even earlier. I know UT Austin has like December 5th deadline for their graduate applications, so just look into that.
Just whatever you do, be intentional, and whatever you're doing, be there.
Be present.
Yeah, be present. Like if you, like I want to say time management, but if you allocate some time to just search for scholarship opportunities, just do that. Just do that, because you'll find like as you grow older and get more involved with people, free time is fleeting, and I mean if you're intentional, if you get this stuff done, then you'll make free time for later. But just time management and be intentional with it.
So I don't know how this works out, recently. What, are there still fees for applying to graduate school?
Yes.
And so is there,
50, 60.
are there waivers for these things now or not, or?
Sometimes.
So this is something that to really, because, for me, 50 here, 50 there, there's so many I can apply to, right? So, you really need to be thinking about that, because, we're talking about a long time ago when I applied, some was $75 and $100, so, there's no guarantee you're gonna get in, so, it's like a, so you need to be thinking about those things too, and, ask for waivers.
Yeah.
The only thing they can tell you is no.
I know a lot of schools give waivers for people in the McNair program, so ask if they have a waiver for McNair scholars.
Because the person that may be in your program, they may not know, HR may not know about the program, right? So you're applying through HR most of the time, or the graduate school, and the graduate school doesn't know, right, that the program has a waiver. So that's why communicating with that graduate coordinator or whatever that person is, you can find out about a waiver or fellowships or whatever that the graduate school doesn't know about.
And then just one last piece of advice from me, take some time for yourself. Be kind to yourself, whether that be going to the gym or just like taking a hot bath or binging on Netflix one night, take care of yourself, do things for yourself. And don't put so much pressure on yourself. I know being first generation college students and minority students, it can be really easy to say, this isn't just for me, I have a lot riding on this. Like if I don't succeed, then I'm not letting just myself down, I'm letting my whole family down. And that was a huge thing for me in undergrad and in grad school. And it led to a lot of anxiety. So just remember that just be kind to yourself. Your family's gonna love you no matter what, and chances that you won't succeed are small because you have so many resources. So many people want to help you succeed. So just take advantage of those and do something for yourself every once in a while.
All right, give the tiniest round of applause to our panelists. Thank you very much.